Welcome to your new moon update with me, Freya, from Freya Astrology. Let's talk about the Pisces new moon. This new moon in Pisces is taking place on the 19th of March at 1:23 a.m. in the morning UK time. So adjust for your time zone. This could be on the 18th for you or on the 20th for you, depending on where you are in the world. But we are focusing this on UK time because that's where I'm recording this from. The new moon in Pisces is going to be at 28 degrees and 27 minutes of this mutable water sign. So we'll get into that in a moment. A new moon is always when the sun and the moon are exactly conjunct. Conjunct just means exactly together, functioning as one, as though the sun and the moon are intertwined for this moment. Every single month, we get one new moon every month and one full moon every month, other than in the case of a blue moon, but they are rare, hence the phrase once in a blue moon. And this is our new moon for the month. The moon and the sun are in exactly the same size, the same element. So in this case, in the sign of Pisces, in the element of water, and the modality, which is kind of how does this zodiac sign function, is mutable, which is very curious, very flexible, very changeable. And it's in the realm of feeling because it's a water sign. So this is maintaining our sense of curiosity about how we feel about something. There's a lot of energy of nostalgia here with this new moon and reflecting back during this time of sowing new seeds for the future, sowing new emotional seeds for the future, because this is a new moon in a water sign. So we're sowing new feelings for the way ahead. At this point here on the 19th of March, which will come to fruition in 6 months' time at the full moon in Pisces. That's kind of how these new moon, full moon cycles work. And the interesting thing about this one is that we have had a whole host of Pisces energy going down over the last 14 years with Neptune in Pisces, which is now, this is the symbol for Neptune, that's now firmly in Aries and it's not going to retrograde back into Pisces. So we say goodbye to Neptune in Pisces. We've also had Saturn in Pisces for the last 2.5 roughly years, which is now firmly into Aries and not going back into Pisces. So we had a big energy shift for Saturn and Neptune back in February and late January of this year, 2026, when we said goodbye to those energies of over-giving, over-empathizing, perhaps leaning far too much into what other people need from us as opposed to what we retain back for ourselves. Because Pisces is the end of the zodiac. It's the very final sign in the zodiac. So it's very all giving, all caring, all feeling, and very like connected to all of the energies in the planet. This is very much a place where we feel other people's stuff and find it very difficult to identify ourselves and kind of pluck ourselves out of the situation and individuate. So that's been a bigger story with the last 14 years of Neptune being in Pisces for sure. And now, as everything starts to move into Aries, we get more of this sense of individuation, more energy about moving ahead. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So we are moving into this new phase of making it more about ourselves and our needs. But there is this final kind of finishing up point. I think culminating kind of is the right word, because we're at the very final degrees of Pisces. Generally, the final degrees of any zodiac sign are known as the anaretic degrees of a sign. So there can be a kind of wobble with this new moon, an ability to set new emotional intentions for the future, but kind of be like, is this really okay? Am I really okay to set this intention, which is for me, ultimately, with moving into all of this Aries energy in the coming month? It is really okay, but there are still these final parts. It's like finishing school and making sure that you've done everything you can to kind of pass the exams, not to make it totally about this kind of like weirdly way that society functions, and that, you know, if you believe in the schooling system or not, think about your own version of what it is to complete something, to achieve something, to aim for something, and to kind of almost like tick that off your list because you've done it. There is this energy at the anaretic degrees, particularly in this example of Pisces, where it's like, where have you nearly graduated from something, and what are the lasting gifts that you are taking from this Pisces energy? So to figure this one out for yourself, look to the whole sign house of Pisces in your birth chart, because it will be somewhere. Even if you don't have any planets in Pisces, Pisces will still rule one of your houses, which is these numbers in the center of the chart, which give you this access to different life areas, and therefore understanding where is this new moon functioning for you, which life area is being activated by this brand new seeding moment at the new moon. So in this example of this chart, we've got a Sagittarius rising, which will mean that, using whole sign houses like I do, that Pisces would be ruling your 4th house. So there would be an ability to set a new intention in home, family, your roots and your tribal connections with others. This is a very kind of private house. We are setting a new intention for the next 6 months around this particular house topic in our lives. We also, at the time of this new moon, we don't have masses of aspects. We do have the ruling planet of Pisces, which is Jupiter, over here in Cancer, now fully direct at 15 degrees of Cancer, but only recently stationed from being retrograde, which has been in retrograde since the 11th of November 2025, where we've been having this much more internalized experience about everything connected to faith, spirituality, our own belief systems, universal law, family connections. What does family look like to me? What does it look like to care for other people and receive care in from other people? These are very Cancerian themes. And what's my philosophy about what a family unit can be? What's my philosophy around nutrition? Because Cancer is ruled by the moon, which is very connected to like our nutritional sources. What kind of drinks do I like now? What kind of nutrients? What kind of supplements do I like taking now? What kind of foods do I like to eat now? Do I feel around food have changed over the last few months since November, where I've been learning a lot and internalizing a lot around my sense of nourishment and care for myself and my own body? Again, because Cancer is a moon ruled sign, it rules the body, how we feel in our own bodies. What is it that I'm now seeing from my external world that I can actually move into this idea of like, how am I nourishing myself now? Have I been holding back on nourishment? Have I been withholding certain nutrients from myself, which I now see, now that Jupiter's direct, are very beneficial for me, and I haven't been taking those into my diet? And actually I feel like I would be feel really vibrant by starting to take those into my diet again. Be cautious of things like tummy issues, because with this Jupiter in Cancer, which has been there since last June of 2025 and will be there till June of 2026, the tummy issues have been coming in strong and fast. And this can be anything like a little bit of bloating or a little bit of feeling discomfort at certain times of the month, particularly if you're cycle tracking. Jupiter in Cancer has been very informative. It has been a great teacher. Jupiter is naturally the teacher. It's been a great teacher about what is my cycle saying to me. Like I said in last month's video update, the full moon update preceding this video, that when we are tracking our cycle, we can learn so much about our own bodies, our own sense of self, which nutrients react well, which water levels react well. Are we drinking enough water? This is a new moon in the sign of water that is ruled by Jupiter in the sign of water. This is very much about, are we hydrated? Are we taking enough fluids in? And also, are we allowing ourselves to feel our emotional worlds, or have we slipped into this way of dissociation, which with a lot of planets in Pisces can be a natural kind of tendency? But again, check to see the whole sign house of Pisces for you. If you're a Pisces rising, this might be far more relatable to you, or a Pisces moon or sun, then this might make more sense to you than perhaps somebody who is a Gemini sun or a Libra sun, for example. But pay attention to the fact that this is the anaretic degree. So we are finishing up the topic of Pisces, and we are learning, okay, I want to keep these things from the last 14-year cycle of that Neptune through Pisces. I want to keep these parts of Pisces in my life, and I want to disregard the others, because I know that come next month that we've got a lot of Aries energy, and I want to make it all about me, and I want to hit the ground running. This feels, as much as it's a sleepy new moon in Pisces, and remember that a new moon is always the sleepiest time of the month, so you might feel particularly sleepy. Perhaps you choose to go to bed earlier on this one. Perhaps you choose to switch off Netflix and you just choose to escape from the escapism in favor of, you know, good sleep hygiene. Whether or not we do that is a different thing, right? But that would be like a really nourishing way to move into this new moon in Pisces with great intentions, healthy intentions, intentions that are really good for the body, with this Jupiter in Cancer recently direct functioning really strongly. We've also got Mars in Pisces at this point. It's about halfway through its journey, roughly. Mars will be in Pisces for about 6 weeks in total. So we've got about another 3.5 weeks of Mars in Pisces, where we are getting to grips with this kind of fluctuating energy level, as opposed to a steady energy level or a kind of all steam ahead energy level of Mars in Aries, where it will be going in a few weeks' time. Mars in Pisces is still like, are you taking your sleep hygiene seriously? Are you staying hydrated? Are you overgiving to other people emotionally? Are you retaining anything back for yourself? So paying attention to that Mars in Pisces. Mercury is still retrograde. We can see with this little R here, at the sign, in the sign of Pisces during this new moon. However, it is going to move direct just the next day. So on the 20th of March, Mercury is going to make its station direct, but not before it has made this conjunction with the North Node. So there is this sense of divine timing around the Pisces house in your birth chart. What is that topic? Is Pisces ruling your 7th house of marriage and relationships, and there's divine timing, a certain conversation comes up that helps move you into this new phase of your relationship? Or is it your 12th house and Mercury meets the North Node in Pisces, and suddenly you have a really spiritual dream that gives you a significant message in the waking realm that you can't help but write down and take note of? Pay attention to music in your life at this time. I cannot express how strongly music is giving us messages during this Pisces season. And it's like these real, like, finale messages. Again, this idea of graduation from the last 14 years of Neptune in Pisces. There is this graduation energy. There is a grand finale, like it's the end of the circus, end of the show. What is the intuitive information you're receiving? What are your intuitive habits as well? Do you have any? Do you pull yourself tarot cards? Do you read the tea leaves? Do you read crystal balls? Do you do yoga? Do you walk in nature? What are your spiritual pursuits that you've been really kind of honing and reading into over the last 14 years? There is this moment with the Mercury in Pisces retrograde conjunct the North Node that is like, this is the conversation. This was always going to happen at this point. Perhaps it's a conversation with a friend or a loved one, or with spirit in the dream world, for example. Pay attention to the imagery that comes through into your life, artworks as well, reading, books, poetry, stories, all of those things, very Pisces. It's also connected to the feet and your ankles. Memories of dancing keep coming through for me, ballet dancing in particular, childhood memories. Again, because all of this Cancer, all of this Pisces energy is ruled by Jupiter in Cancer. There is a lot about reflecting back, nostalgia, childhood, growing up, what it was to be a child, what it was to be mothered, what it was to be parented, these kinds of energies. So whilst Mars and Mercury in the North Node aren't kind of caught up by a conjunction for this new moon in Pisces, they are still co-present in the same sign. And in ancient astrology, if planets are in the same zodiac sign as each other, they are considered to be co-present, working together. So we don't have the exact conjunction of Mars to the moon here, for example, because there's quite a few degrees in between 12 and 28. What is that, 16 degrees? I'm not sure if I got that right. Then that's considered too wide to be a conjunction, which is kind of 8 degrees or less. However, ancient astrologers work with this idea that all planets in the same sign are working together as one. So we do feel like there is this access to Mars, our energy levels, our drive, our courage, our passions, our desire to really move forwards with something. There's also an energy of communicating, sharing ideas, receiving messages. Mercury is the messenger. And this is one I really want to focus on, because The one aspect we do have being really tightly made to this new moon in Pisces is this sextile from Uranus in Taurus, also at 28 degrees, the same sign as this new moon in Pisces. And Uranus is known by modern psychological astrologers as the higher octave of Mercury, which means that Uranus functions like a divine download energy. It's not the text that you see in front of you written down on paper. It's not the email that you receive, but it's the sudden insight that kind of comes down through the top of your crown chakra and illuminates new ways of thinking, and it projects forwards into the future as well. Like, this is problem solving 1.0. This is the ability to think outside of the box, and it also gives me this strong energy that once we move beyond this new moon in Pisces and into all of the Aries season, which is really starting to heat up now. We've got Chiron in Aries, Venus in Aries, Saturn and Neptune in Aries. Soon the sun will be in Aries at the spring equinox, and the moon and Mars and Mercury. So we've got a lot of stuff moving into Aries, and this sextile to Uranus at this new moon point just before we hit the ground running is kind of like, this is the clarity, this is the wake-up call, this is where I'm done with these things in my life, this is where I am going to brave out what I believe to be stable and materially secure in my life. I'm actually going to have the courage to make a choice that perhaps rocks some of that stability, because I feel within myself, within my soul, within that divine insight coming through the crown chakra, that now is the time to take action. Now is time to do the thing. And Uranus is the great awakening. It comes along to redirect our souls when they're feeling a bit sludgy and a bit slow. In the sign of Pisces, Uranus is a great help. It can also be shocks and surprises, so be careful of destabilization feelings. Perhaps sudden bills arrive in the inbox, or suddenly you have a financial thing that comes along, like you need to buy a new sofa, something's broken in the house, or that perhaps there are delays in the food chain, perhaps certain produce isn't available for a while. But mostly, this is a sextile aspect between the new moon in Pisces and Uranus in Taurus. And sextiles are the nature of Venus, whilst we have all this new moon in Venus's exaltation, the sign of Pisces. So Venus is being strongly emphasized here, and she is in the sign of Aries. So she is all about, what do I want? What do I need? Feeling really sure in that, not really thinking about the long-term goal, but thinking like, where am I taking action now? Where am I ready to go? Like I said, where am I ready to hit that ground running? And things can start to move quite rapidly beyond this new moon in Pisces. Signs most affected by this one are any Pisces suns, moons or rising, or anybody with like a Jupiter in Pisces or a Jupiter in Sagittarius. If you have strong Jupiter in your birth chart, so that could be Pisces and Jupiter rising as well, or Pisces and Jupiter, any of those personal placements, sun, moon, rising, then this one will be a more significant new beginning for you. The water signs are also strongly emphasized by this, but also the fixed signs, so because of the Uranus aspect in the sign of Taurus. So the fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And thanks so much for joining this new moon update, and I'll see you next time for the full moon update.